We can sit around in the alternative media and we can moan about the fact that listings in Google are constantly being manipulated through algorithms, or we can do something about it.
Hello, and tonight's headlines.
The Iconic Media Group is a genuine alternative.
I never fully switch off. It's almost like having the radio on in the background.
What is the reaction to that from within the industry?
Well, I hide a lot.
Hello, welcome to Real Education with Lana.
However, we want to grow this into being one of the biggest independent platforms, if not the biggest independent platform in the world.
I brought in Max Egan to talk about it. Mr. Egan, no need for introductions, but I've done it anyway. Say hello to Iconic.
And welcome to the very first episode of Amanda's Secret Chamber.
I felt it, I know what pain feels like. It's horrible to suffer mentally because everything's here. It's just in here.
This gives the strong impression that we know what we're talking about.
I want to leave this world having made the biggest difference I can.
A genuine alternative that will cast a light on subjects that the mainstream media, and to be fair, large swathes of the alternative media, either can't or won't.
A Newsweek journalist, this time it sounds like a proper one, has resigned from the publication, reportedly because of a suppression of his story about the ever-growing OPCW scandal, the revelation of immensely significant plot holes in the establishment Syria narrative that you can update yourself by watching this video, which you can see on davidicke.com. The headline is Journalist Newsweek suppressed OPCW scandal and threatened me with legal action. Once again, because the OPCW is the cult-owned world body that supposed to police the world for use of chemical weapons. And Newsweek is owned by the cult. So when a journalist on Newsweek is exposing the manipulation and the lies and deceit of the cult-controlled OPCW, then the journalist has to be suppressed. So it's so simple when you know it works. So this is the story. It's a quote from the journalist. Yesterday, I resigned from Newsweek after my attempts to publish newsworthy revelations about the leaked OPCW letter were refused for no valid reason, journalist Tarek Haddad reported on Twitter. I have collected evidence of how they suppressed the story, in addition to evidence from another case where info inconvenient to US government was removed, though it was factually correct, Haddad said. I plan on publishing these details in full shortly. However, after asking my editors for comment, as is journalistic practice, I received an email reminding me of confidentiality clauses in my contract, i.e. I was threatened with legal action. And the scam that he's talking about is the leaked documentation from whistleblowers that the claim, which some of us were saying at the time, by the way, that Assad in Syria used chemical weapons on his own people, that actually, when that was investigated by the OPCW, after Trump has fired missiles at Syria in response, they found actually that there was no evidence of it. But they didn't say it, even though the official Assad used chemical weapons on his own people was basically trashed by their findings. They didn't say it because it didn't fit the narrative. And when a journalist finds out about it and wants to write about it in a magazine owned by the cult, then of course it's suppressed. Haddad added that he's now seeking legal advice and looking into the possibility of whistleblower protections for himself, and said at the very least he will publish information he has while admitting anything that could subject him to legal retaliation from his former employer. I could have kept silent and kept my job, which most journalists do, by the way. That's why we get crap journalism. But I would not have been able to continue with a clean conscience. I have some instability now, but the truth is more important. This is the first direct insider report we're getting on the mass media's conspiracy of silence on the OPCW scandal that a number of people have, of course, pointed out. While the alternative media is saying, hey, have you seen what these whistleblowers are saying? The mainstream media, silence on it. If Trump really is against fake media and fake news, well, he should be speaking out and saying, although what this guy's writing puts me in a bad light because I ordered missiles to be fired on Syria, on what now turns out to be a lie, this should go out. The public need to know about this. But he won't, because it's fake news that suits you and then fake news that doesn't. Still fake news. In how many other newsrooms, this article asks, is this exact same sort of suppression happening all the time? The answer to that, including threats of legal action to journalists who don't have the courage or ability to leave and speak out. There is no logical reason to assume that Haddad is the only one encountering such roadblocks from mass media editors. He's just the only one going public about it. Exactly right. Newsweek has long been a reliable guard dog and attack dog for the US centralized empire, the article says, with examples of stories that its editors did permit to go to print, including an article by an actual current military intelligence officer explaining why US prosecution of Julian Assange is a good thing, fawning puff pieces on the white helmets, and despicable smear jobs on Tulsi Gabbard, who doesn't want war, as she runs for the presidential nomination of the Democrats. She doesn't want war. Oh, destroy her. The outlet will occasionally print oppositional-looking articles, like one by Ian Wilkie questioning the establishment Syria narrative, but not without immediately turning around and publishing an attack on Wilkie's piece by Elliot Higgins, a former Atlantic Council senior fellow, who is the co-founder of the NED-funded imperial narrative management firm Bellingcat brackets intelligence network. Newsweek also recently published an article attacking Tucker Carlson for publicizing the OPCW scandal, basing its criticisms on a bogus Bellingcat article that was debunked after publication. Now that's another point. Tucker Carlson, have a sip of me drink. Tucker Carlson. You know, people get stuck in such a box that instead of listening to what people say line by line and making judgments on that, they dismiss everything that someone says and accept everything that someone else says purely on ideology. And it's nonsense. You're going to get scammed all the time when you do that. And you're not going to listen to things you ought to be listening to give you another way of looking at what you currently believe. So when I post Tucker Carlson interviews and items on davidicke.com, I get people saying, you can't do that. Tucker Carlson, he's a far-right Trump supporter. And he's on Fox News. You can't put anything on from Fox News. Well, actually, I can, because I do what I bloody like. Because I am actually an individual with freedom to choose. And I will invoke that, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. And every morning I get up about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I watch on YouTube the Tucker Carlson show from the previous night. Why? Because while I don't agree with everything he says, I certainly don't agree with everything he stands for, he is, by American media television standards, a proper journalist who will go into areas that the others are terrified of. Fox News is an appalling organization. And, when you look at most of its presenters, I mean, journalism doesn't come to mind. Sean Hannity, for a start, who licks the backside of Trump and Israel all the time. But Carlson is different. How he gets away with some of it, I don't know, but he does. Well, up to now he does. Although there have been many efforts to target his advertisers by the woke tyranny, and also to get him thrown off the air for various reasons. But he's stuck there. And he asks questions and makes points and runs stories that none of the others will run. I've said before in these video casts that it's pretty clear that a Carlson show, which I watched, stopped Trump bombing Iran. Because Trump's national security advisor was John Bolton, who's a neocon to his DNA. And he was trying to get Iran bombed because that's Israel's agenda, and it's the neocons' agenda, which is just a United States branch of Israel. And the planes were in the sky heading towards Iran to kick off something that, well, where would that go? As I've been saying for so long, they're desperate to bomb Iran and start war with Iran. But Trump has a constituency he has to keep sweet. Otherwise, he won't get a second term. And that constituency includes a vast number of people that are against these wars of acquisition and chaos and slaughter and destruction, which have been going on. President after president, no matter what party, driven by the neocons. And Tucker Carlson did an item when it looked like that Iran was going to be targeted with bombers. And he made the point, and Trump watches Fox News all the time apparently, he'll certainly watch Carlson. Carlson made the point that if Trump attacks Iran militarily, he's going to lose massive amounts of support that got him into power. And Trump turned the bombers around. I think John Bolton cried for days. Sure he did. And so Carlson is willing to say things that others won't say. And I watched the item that this article was talking about, where he was saying, why isn't the media talking about this? These whistleblowers are saying that the story of Assad unleashing chemical weapons on his own people was made up, and that the findings of the investigators of the OPCW confirm that it couldn't have been Assad, because the evidence, the claim was that Assad took planes over the site and dropped these chemical weapons from the sky, and therefore, it has to be Assad because the terrorists that ran that area didn't have planes. Turns out that these whistleblowers are pointing out that the findings of the OPCW were that the chemical weapon shells were placed there, not dropped from the sky. Now, given it was a rebel-controlled area and not an Assad-controlled area, Assad forces could not have placed them there. So you see what a revelation that is about the official story being nonsense. And Carlson called that out and got widely attacked for it. So I would say to people, oh, Tucker Carlson, he's Fox News. You can't listen to him and you can't post his interviews. Well, first of all, I can, and I will go on doing so, when they are eliciting the truth about situations that others in the mainstream American media won't even go near. And I would say to those people, for goodness sake, stop having your perceptions dictated by personality and just listen item by item, line by line, and take what feels right from a perspective of open-mindedness and leave the rest, which is what I do every morning. And there's a comedian, he's actually a left of centre comedian called Jimmy Dore, who actually comes from this same position. Hold on a minute, never mind who said it, is it true? And he quotes Tucker Carlson quite a bit here and there, even though he's, quote, a progressive. It's childlike to dismiss what people say just because it's them, instead of looking at actually what they say and whether it has validity.